Episode 58 of True Sports is on the air now. I'm Taylor Phillips along with Louis Tenor. The Vegas Golden Knights beat the Florida Panthers 5-2 in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final as seen on TNT. All Stanley Cup Final games this year are televised on TNT. Uh, just one question. What did you think of
Yeah,
that magnificent forecheck pick by Mark Stone and the goal to make it 4-2?
yeah, that was. I think it was a clincher right there. I mean, that was an unbelievable goal, and they made some great saves as well. Like in the like a second period, that could have, gave Florida, an advantage, but they were able to come up with a great save, in the second period, and that's what I think prevailed them to beat Florida. Personally, I
Yeah.
don't think Florida has much of a chance in this series.
Well, even I never know, but Vegas shown that they have more power. Yet,
Mm,
yeah, the Panthers didn't quite show their resilience because I think
no,
Vegas kind of overpowered them in the third period. So,
pretty
get,
much, pretty
yep,
much. Mm.
yep. Game two of that Stanley Cup final, I believe, is Monday at 8 on
It is.
TNT. Yep.
Yes.
Speaking of game two of the NBA Finals at 8 o'clock tomorrow night on ABC.
Oh yeah.
We'll recap that at about 11 on podcast night.
Mhm.
Following the my other podcast, the Michigan Sports Truth podcast, which will be seen
Right.
on YouTube for the weekly discussion
Ah.
edition of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast, which can be seen on YouTube at the Michigan Sports Truth podcast.
All right.
So game two of the NBA Finals. Who you got?
I was sticking with Denver.
Yep. Because yeah, Denver, Miami almost came back, but Denver did a good job holding them off.
Yes.
Nikola Jokic, 27 points, 10 rebounds, 14 assists in game one 2 nights ago. He was doing most of the work
Right.
in that game. So look for him to do it again in game two tomorrow night.
Yes, I will. Well, he will.
Yeah, it still takes a team to do it, but Nikola Jokic is the
Yes.
star. And
Oh,
if the
he's an
Nug- and
MVP
if
for
the
nothing.
hey, especially if or when the Nuggets win the title.
Right.
So, a little Major League Baseball before we begin your true sports report. Um, yeah, the Tigers lost to the White Sox 2-1 in 10 innings, but it was on a pitch that it was too high and it hit the umpire. It ricocheted off the off the home plate umpire's
Ooh.
mask, and
Oh wow.
but it was just high. It looked like a pass ball, but it was catcher Eric Haas of the
Yes.
Tigers, but it was scored as a wild pitch on reliever Jose Cisnero. I don't think it was Cisnero's fault. Haas should have had that one
Yeah, you're probably right.
because clearly Haas was crouching down too low, and he decided to be too lazy to even attempt to catch that high fastball. And Cisneros a flamethrower. Haas was just it looked like he was too slow to in his attempt
Mm,
to catch that live baseball. And keep in mind the ball is still alive even though it hits the umpire
right.
because it because the bat didn't make any contact with the ball. The batter didn't even intend to make contact with the ball either. Because he didn't swing. He it was too high for him to swing at it, so he laid off, and by rule the baseball is still alive, all that allowed Yon Moncada to score the game-winning run. but that was not a wild pitch. That was a pass ball. MLB got that wrong.
Hmm.
But it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pass ball on Eric Haas, not a wild pitch on Cisnero. I'm only talking about individual players, not the entire team. Just so. Yeah, Yankees and Dodgers. A tough one for the Yankees. A challenging series for the Yankees in LA.
Oh yeah. Last night especially. Even though they got their three injured players back, from both their hamstring injuries. Yeah, yeah. One had a left hamstring and the other had a right hamstring injury, and they both made it back. Unfortunately, it was to no avail. But they made up for it tonight. Thank goodness.
Yep. Well, looks like it's time for your true sports reporter, Lewis. Go ahead.
Okay, and I'll explain that as well. All right, first we'll go over to the scores here. All but two games are done in Major League Baseball. So we'll go down this way. Starting with, well, I'll do the games in progress, of course. Right now, the Giants lead the Orioles 3-0 in the bottom of the fifth, but bases are loaded with two out. Baker is pitching and Schmidt is at bat. So we'll have to keep an eye on this right here. And in the, three games. Okay. The Braves are leading the D-backs 3-0 at the top of the fifth. Runners on first and second, two out. Jameson is pitching and Ibelis is batting. And the Padres are leading the Cubs 3-0 top of the sixth. Darvish is pitching and Astrobani is at bat. All the rest are final. Red Sox over Rays in game one, 8-5. Cooler got the win. Beeks got the loss, and Jansen got the save. In 10 innings, as we mentioned, the White Sox over the Tigers, 2-1. Lopez got the win, and Cicera got the loss. Phillies doubled up on the Nationals, 4-2. Covey got the win. Gore got the loss, and Kimbrel got the save. Rangers beat up on the Mariners, 16-6. Shabbat's got the win, and Wu got the loss. Pirates over Cardinals, 4-3. Montero got the win, Montgomery got the loss, and Bendar got the save. The Astros over the Angels, 9-6. Javier got the loss, and Sandoval got the loss. Rockies over the Royals, 6-4. Carstani got the win, Lynch got the loss, and Lawrence got the save. The Brewers over the Reds, 10-8. Ray got the win, Ashcraft got the loss, and Williams got the save. Marlins had a field day over the A's, 12-1. Yeah. Perez got the win, Medina got the loss, and Soriano got the save. Blue Jays over the Mets, 2-1. Pearson got the win, Robertson got the loss, and Swanson got the save. Just we thought the Mets are doing better. In the second game, Rays over the Red Sox, 4-2. Boucher got the win, Jansen got the loss, and Adam got the save. Guardians over Twins, 4-2. Allen got the win, Gray got the loss, and Chase got the save. Yankees over the Dodgers, 6-3. Cole got the win, Grove got the loss, and Holmes got the save. Okay, so we'll go to the standings, and they go this way. All right. Okay, in the American League East, the Rays are 41-19, have a 3.5 game lead with the Orioles at 36-21. Yankees 35-25, 8 back. Blue Jays 32-27, 8.5 back, and the Red Sox 30-28, 10 back. To the Comedy Central, the Twins are 31-28, have a 3.5 game lead with the Tigers at 26-30. Guardians 28-32, 4.5 back. White Sox 25-35, 6.5 back, and the Royals 17-41, 13.5 back. Oof. In the West, the Rangers are 37-20, a 2.5 game lead with the Astros at 35-23. The Angels 30-30, 8.5 back. Also 8.5 back are the Mariners at 29-29, and the A's, 12-48, 28.5 back. Oof. I mean, at 26.5 back, but still pathetic. To the National League, the Braves are 33-24, have a 3-game lead with the Marlins at 31-28. Mets are now 30-29, 4 back. Oh boy. Phillies 26-32, 7.5 back, and the Nationals 25-33, 8.5 back. To the Central, the Brewers are 31-27, have a half-game lead over the Pirates, 30-27. Reds 26-32, 5 back. Also 5 back at the Cubs, but they're 25-31, and the Cardinals are 26-34, 6.5 back. And in the West, the D-backs have a half-game lead, are at 35-23, a half-game lead with the Dodgers at 35-24. Giants 28-29, 6.5 back. Padres 26-31, 8.5 back, and 10 back are the Rockies at 26-34. All right, so let's check tomorrow's schedule. It should be a duty. Okay, so we start off with the early game, which is 11:35, as the Cardinals take on Pittsburgh. That's a Peacock game. 1:35, we have the Phillies taking on the Nationals and the Rays taking on the Red Sox. Your 1:40 games are the Brewers versus the Reds, the A's taking on the Marlins, and the Blue Jays taking on the Mets. Your 2:10 games, well, we got a slew of them here. Angels taking on the Astros, the Guardians taking on the Twins, the Rockies taking on the Royals, and your Tigers taking on the White Sox. 2:35, Mariners take on the Rangers. 4:05, the Orioles take on the Giants. 4:10, Braves take on the D-backs. 5:30, the Cubs take on the Padres. And at 7 o'clock, the Yankees take on the Dodgers. All right, so yeah, just let me go back to the score table here. Okay, got a couple of other um, events I'm going to mention. We have also, it's MLS Day here. Yeah, Saturday's a big day on MLS, so we'll take care of that right now. Most games are finished with a couple of late exceptions. Starting off with Cincinnati over Chicago 1-0. Columbus over Charlotte 4-2. DC over Miami 2-1. Orlando over my Red Bulls 3-0. Thanks a lot. Philadelphia over Montreal 3-0. Game in progress, Salt Lake leading Austin 1-0 halfway through. All the rest are final as Nashville beats on Dallas 2-1. Minnesota and Toronto tied 1-1. St. Louis over Houston 3-0. New York and New England, a scoreless tie. Also, a scoreless tie was between Seattle and Portland, and also Colorado and San Jose. Kansas City is leading Vancouver 1-0. That takes care of that. And we have also some WNBA action here. I covered it all, guys. What can I say?
Yep.
Yeah, I do. One game is finished. Minnesota edging Washington 80-78. Right now in the fourth quarter, the LA Sparks are leading the Seattle Storm 72-68, 6:38 to go in the fourth. And in case you're interested, maybe some of you are, we have the USFL as the Houston Gamblers took on the Pittsburgh Maulers and won 20-19. That was the Fox game, and the NBC game was Birmingham Stallions over the Philadelphia Stars 27-24. Tomorrow, the Memphis Showboats take on my New Jersey Generals, and your Michigan Panthers take on the New Orleans Breakers. Go figure.
It's just a minor league team. It's just
I
minor
know,
league stuff.
I know, but you know, of course, I remember the original USFL.
Yep.
Yep, I'm that old. Oh boy. All right. So I'll start off with the top of the notes here on the page. The 2024 NHL Stadium Series will be held at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey next season. That's February 24th, and will be a 2-day event involving 4 teams. The league announced this today. The Devils will host the Flyers on this Devils host the Flyers, and the Rangers will take on the Islanders. The Rangers will be the road team due to their lease agreement with MSG, which forbids them from playing a home game in any other arena besides Madison Square Garden. The event will be the first time that four teams have played outdoor games in the same venue in front of fans. Both games will be broadcasted on ESPN. The NHL Stadium Series joins a 2023-24 season with an outdoor schedule that includes the Heritage Classic between the Flames and Oilers on October 29th and the ever popular Winter Classic on January 1st between the Knights and the Kraken. Ooh, I'm going to love that one. The original plan for the NHL was to have the Rangers and Devils play a single game between these arch rivals who met in the postseason this year. No, I kind of like the idea. Okay. Uh, First up, Brooklyn Nets have hired Kevin Ollie as an assistant coach. If that name sounds familiar to some of you, Ollie coached UConn to a national title back in 2014. I knew I should have brought that up on the show today. Okay. He was a finalist for the Pistons head coaching job in the spring, but that went to Monty Williams. Ollie joins a reshaped coaching staff led by Jacques Vaughn in his first full season as head coach. Ollie spent the past 2 years as head player development for the Overtime Elite program in Atlanta and has become a premier feeder program in pro basketball. After being undrafted out of UConn, he spent 13 seasons in the NBA and built a reputation as a player and a leader. The Utah Jazz squad is hiring former Marquette coach Steve Wojciechowski, or as I say, Woj, source as their next head coach. Woj is better known, as he's better known, has been living in the Salt Lake area since he departed from Marquette in 2021 and has been eager to make the transition to coaching in the NBA, and now lands with a franchise with young players and 3 first-round draft picks. And as the draft will be later this month. He spent time in the Jazz organization over the past 2 years, especially in the last season due to his relationship with former Jazz coach Quinn Snyder. He spent some time this season attending some of the Jazz practices and developing a relationship with Coach Will Hardy. Woj joined Snyder as one of several college coaches who have made the transition from the G League to the NBA. He spent 7 years at Marquette and left with a 128-94 record, making 2 NCAA tournament appearances and one of that other tournament that you call the NIT. Sorry. After Marquette, he spent one summer as an assistant coach for the Amari Cup team. He also was All-American and National Defensive Player of the Year at Duke, where he was assistant under Coach K for 15 seasons. Knicks forward Julius Randle underwent surgery on his left ankle. However, he should be ready to gear up for training camp in September, so it's nothing serious. The Knicks made the announcement just today. The procedure was performed yesterday and considered a success, and will allow Randle to resume basketball activities later this summer, and will be ready to go for 2023-24. And personally, I think if he wasn't injured, the Knicks might have won that series against Miami. But that's just my opinion. Randle played through not one but 2 ankle sprains in the final stages of the Knicks season when he became aware that surgery was going to be needed, but decided to push through the injury to remain in the lineup for the Knicks playoff run, or as I call it, play through the pain. After playing in 77 games of the year, Randle missed the last 5 of the regular season with his first ankle sprain, then re-injured the ankle in Game 5 in their first round series against the Cavaliers, and has only playoff game, which was Game 1 against the Heat. Randle averaged 25 points and 10 rebounds during the regular season and earned all NBA and All-Star honors in just his second season. So he has a good future, though. Just trying to get injured next year. Okay. Defending Wimbledon women's champion, Elena Rybakina was pulled out of the French Open before her third round match, coming down with an illness of sorts Did not specify what the illness was. She said, I wanted to give it 110%, and it was obvious I was not 110%, she said. If I can't breathe, there is not a chance that I can even run and try to compete. Rebecca was scheduled to face Sarah Sorbes, ranked number 132 in the world, in today's first match. Today's first match of the day, that is. The match was to begin at 11:45 local time, which I think for me is 5:45 in the East. But at that moment, she sat down behind the microphone at a news conference, explaining as to why she was dropping out of the tournament. Something stiffed up. She was running a fever and did not sleep well the past 2 nights and had difficulty breathing during a warm-up session ahead of her match today. She said that a doctor told her that there was a virus going around the city of Paris. Okay, not good. Not good at all. As I mentioned, Monty Williams is taking over as head coach of the Pistons. The team reached an agreement yesterday with Williams to fill the vacant coaching spot. Terms of the deal were not announced as I wrote this, but I believe now that is 78 million over 6 years.
For 78.5 million for 6 years, according to Adrian Wojnarowski.
Yeah, good old Woj. That's the largest for a coach in NBA history. After spending some time with
Oh, hold
Williams,
on. That also includes incentives that could push the deal to over 100 million.
yeah, wow,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
big hire by Tom Gores and Troy Weaver.
I'll bet.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Monty
after
Williams was
spending,
great with the Suns.
sure, and they fired him anyway. What a dope. What can I
Yeah,
tell
the
you?
Suns were just too sore. They could have stuck with him, and yeah, the Suns even made it to the NBA Finals.
Right.
But
As
then
I,
last year and then this year they started to decline a little bit. I get that, but still, they can't just give up on him.
no, not at all. That's exactly my point. After spending time with Williams, it is clear that he has found a unique balance between achieving victory while at the same time nurturing a culture of growth, inspiration, and development set by owner Tom Gores. This is a huge win for us. No
Yeah,
kidding. Williams
big win.
Williams was
Yeah, huge
fired.
win is right.
Yeah, Williams was fired as head coach of the Suns on May 13th, which was stupid, just
Wow.
2 years after reaching the finals, and won Coach of the Year honors just a season ago. Idiot. In four
Wow.
regular seasons, Williams won
Pistons.
six.
Whenever the Pistons saw an opportunity, they took it.
Yes,
Tom
as true.
Gores saw that opportunity. He didn't waste any time. He
No,
he took more action in 30 seconds than whereas Chris Sillage kept spending way too much money on parking lots.
oh no.
I it's the truth. We've we've detected it. Stupid Home Depot
Yeah,
commercial cluster. Uh, but
exactly.
yeah, it's out there. Yeah, yeah. My co-hosts on the Michigan Sports Truth podcast and I have detected it in news articles from terrible illages.
Ugh.
Yeah.
How terrible is it? No. Anywho, all right, moving along.
It's about the money, man.
It is most of the time. He won 63% of his games, but were eliminated in the Western Conference Finals 2 straight years and lost to the Bucks in the 2021 Finals.
The
Yes, I
Western
remember
Conference
that.
Finals. Why were they?
Yeah,
Why in the world would they fire that? Those are deep runs, though.
I
It's not like
know.
they were eliminated in the first round in either
Right.
last year or this year.
Yes. So I say that was not fair that he got fired. He
So
shouldn't have been
that's
fired.
so that's consecutively three Western Conference Finals appearances in totality, including the one
Mm,
trip in the NBA to the NBA Finals in 2021. Think
yes.
about that.
Okay, I'm thinking. Okay. Okay. Novak Djokovic made no secret how he loves the feel of negativity during a tennis match, whether leading or trailing on the scoreboard. He simply finds motivation and inspiration from all manners of sight, and real and perceived. Maybe it's how a chair umpire is officiating on a certain day, or a way how the Joker's entourage sitting in place in the stands instead of rising to encourage him, or the criticism he receives for wading into a political issue which all took place at the French Open this week. Or maybe it's how he is treated by spectators who, as they did during Friday's win over Alejandro Davidovich Farka in the third round, and was jeered for apparently no reason at all. It was a grueling 3.5 hour match of 3 sets, and was not thrilled at how things went as he double faulted 3 times. Wow. And did not like the feedback coming from the majority of fans, or as I say, so called fans. After being 2 points away from dropping the second set, the Joker gained control, grabbing the grabbing the next each, ending with an error by Farkna. Then the set is his. He took a few steps forward toward the sideline before reaching by punching the air, spinning around, throwing an uppercut, holding his right fist aloft and roaring. That drew some hostile noise from the crowd. Most displeasure came later when the chair umpire announced he needed a medical timeout while a trainer was massaging his upper left leg. Oh boy. Sitting in a chair with a towel wrapped around him with his shirt off. Oh boy. The Joker heard the negative remarks and responded with gestures. He waved his hands to say, "Give me more." He gave us our sarcastic thumbs up and just nodded. Dvorak is seeking his 23rd major title at the French Open as he now heads to the fourth round. Oh boy. Guy's got a temper. And Rafael Nadal underwent arthroscopic surgery for an injured left hip flexor that forced him out of the French Open for the first time in 18 years. His spokesman said that 3 doctors were involved in the procedure that took place in Barcelona, Spain. Perez Baldino said he expected to pass along information now yesterday. Nadal has been sidelined since January when he injured his hip in a second round loss at the Australian Open. Oh boy. And the Phoenix Suns are finalizing a deal to hire Frank Vogel as head coach. Sources told ESPN the Suns offered the job to Vogel on Friday. The Suns offered the job to Vogel and are expected to complete terms on a deal that will deliver the chance to coach All Stars Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Vogel emerged out of the finalist group that included former Sixers coach Doc Rivers and the Suns assistant Kevin Young. Vogel has a championship with the Lakers in 2020. The Suns were pushing a succession to Monty Williams, who was fired as head coach after losing to the Nuggets. And as I said before, Williams was hired as head coach of the Pistons earlier this week.
Yep.
Yeah. Patrick Kane will be sidelined for at least 4 to 6 months after undergoing a hip procedure, his agent said on Friday. Pat Bryson told reporters that Kane had the procedure done. Kane played the last 19 games of his 8-year, $84 million deal with the Rangers last season. The Rangers acquired Kane from the Blackhawks on February 28th. Prior to that trade, he played 1,161 games for the Blackhawks. Brisson expects Kane to make a full recovery. It is not clear how the surgery will impact his free agency, but Brisson did say that he would consider options if the winger is not signed by July 1st. Brisson did say the surgery was successful. Kane is a 9-time All-Star and 3-time Stanley Cup winner with the Blackhawks and was selected in the first round by the Blackhawks back in 2007. Wow, long time ago. All right, we got some more news here, and oops, now why does that do that? Okay,
Man, I can't wait.
I
I
get
can't wait until November.
yeah. All
Time
right,
to. Hopefully, the Pistons can improve with Monty Williams. if he can be great with the Suns, he can be great with the Pistons.
Yes. Okay. First baseman John Singleton is back to the majors after 8 years, after he was promoted by the Brewers. The Brewers call up Singleton and outfielder Blake Perkins from AAA Nashville and placed first baseman Darren Ruff with right knee inflammation and outfielder Tyrone Taylor with an elbow sprain. Singleton told reporters that he learned of his promotion from the Nashville Sounds, that's AAA, from manager Rick Sweet in the ninth inning. Huh, what a way to do it. For you Commanders fans out there, okay, Josh Harris, who last month who reached an agreement with to buy the Commanders, will meet with the Finance Committee on Wednesday. Multiple sources on ESPN. This leads another step forward into a possible vote by the owners for a possible sale this summer. One can only hope. Harris has been working with the league to make the required adjustments to his offer to complete the sale. Sources told ESPN he will meet with 8 finance committee members in New York, and the meeting was first reported by the Washington Post. Mm-hmm. Angels third baseman Anthony Renton will not be charged with his role for an altercation with a fan on opening day, as reported by the New York Times, LA Times. The incident occurred on March 30th in Oakland when Rendon grabbed the shirt of a fan who heckled him. The video also showed Rendon addressing the fan with offensive language after they lost to the A's on opening day, which has been one of the few bright spots that team has had all season. The LA Times said police in Oakland investigated the incident as a possible misdemeanor assault and misdemeanor battery and decided not to file charges according to a report by the newspaper. The case is now closed. Rendon did serve a 4-game suspension in April and was fined for an undisclosed amount. I say you're both wrong on that one because although that the fan had no right to heckle him, I don't think Rendon had the right to, you know, grab the fan anyway. That I think is considered assault. So wrong on both counts. Okay, for some good news now. Blue Jays pitcher Chris Bassett stood on the mound in the eighth inning as his teammates patted him on the back, and manager John Schneider took the ball from him and said, "Now go be a dad, okay?" Taking the mound 90 minute after a 90-minute rain delay and ready to rush back to Toronto as his wife was going into labor, Bassett shut down his former team on just 3 hits and led the Blue Jays to a 3-0 victory. Schneider said, "I'm sure there are a million things going through his mind right now. To keep everything in check was impressive." His wife Jessica was due to give birth to their second child. A private jet was ready to take Bassett back home to Toronto as soon as he came out of the game and got to one of New York's smaller airports. What was supposed to be a 7:10 start was delayed by rain, did not start till 8:41 due to the storm in the area, although it didn't hit my area though. Schneider credited Director of Team Travel Mike Shaw for delaying the plane's departure time. There was no consideration to scratch Bassett. He tied his season high at 8 strikeouts with 7.5 innings and didn't walk anybody, and he threw 101 pitches. He remained in the game until the eighth inning, until he was replaced by Tim Meza, who struck out Brandon Nimmo to end the eighth, but left Citi Field before the game ended at 11:12 p.m. Not bad. Started at 8:41 and ended at 11:12. Not bad. Under 3 hours. And I guess you can say they were finding Nemo. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. Next. Manny Machado was hitless in 4 at-bats after missing the past 2 weeks with a left hand injury in a loss to the Cubs on Friday. Machado was hit by a pitch that hit the metacarpal in his left hand last month. The third baseman struck out twice and hit into a fielder's choice and lined out in his final 2 at-bats. Every day has gotten better, said Machado before the game. In fact, it has gotten to the point where he doesn't even hurt anymore. So you say. So it's time to get back out there and play. In 41 games, Machado is batting .231 with 5 home runs and 19 RBIs. In other moves, Padres DH Nelson Cruz head to the 10-day injured list with a strained right hamstring and optioned outfielder Jose Azocar to AAA El Paso. Okay, as I mentioned, the big three are back. Carlos Stanton and Josh Davidson each hit a home run in their return to the Yankees on Friday night. The bad news is they lost 8-4 to the Dodgers. Stanton is playing in his first game since April 15th to hit a 417-foot home run that shot to center field in the top of the fourth. Donaldson hit two home runs in that game, one in the top of the second with a two-run homer. Well, first one with a solo shot in the second, and then a two-run homer in the top of the ninth. His first game since April 5th. It felt nice to have quality at bats, Donaldson said. Obviously, it's been frustrating not being able to play, but I really can't do much about that anymore. Hopefully, I can put my best foot forward and move ahead. Stanton, who was a longtime Dodgers fan, suffered a left hamstring injury, while Donaldson had been out with a right hamstring injury. Interesting. Manager Aaron Boone said that both players were expected to play in two of the three games in this series. Meanwhile, reliever Tommy Cannell, who was also sidelined with bicep tendonitis during spring training, made his season debut in the same game and only gave up one hit in a scoreless inning. Carlos Rodon also went through a 30-pitch bullpen session, according to Boone. Rodon has been out since spring training with a left forearm injury as well as a back injury, but should be able to face live batters shortly. One can only hope. And they're only in third place in the AL East. Okay, Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yeomark said yesterday that conference has a plan when it comes to expansion, and though league leaders are satisfied with their current membership, they continue to explore all options and consideration at this point in time. A source who participated in the meetings this week told ESPN there was no voting on expansion. However, there were discussions on scenarios. Yeomark who addressed reporters by video conference after the Big 12 spring meetings in West Virginia, was asked about the possibility of Gonzaga or another school joining the conference as a basketball member only. We do see the upside of basketball moving forward for all the right reasons, said Mark, without mentioning any schools specifically. We think it is undervalued, and there's a chance for us and double down as the number one basketball conference in the nation, but football is the driver. Well, we all know that. As we think about the future and ways to create value, he added there is always a chance to decouple basketball from football to see if there's a value that we can create for the conference. A source told ESPN that UConn and Gonzaga were talked about in the meetings, but the president and chancellors are in a holding pattern until the Pac-12 announces new TV deal. Nevertheless, the Big 12 is adding 4 new members just in time for college football, and they are BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and University of Central Florida. Quite an impressive list. Okay, one more note here. The Twins reinstated second baseman Jorge Polanco from the 10-day injured list before the game against the Guardians, bringing their lineup to near full strength. That lasted all 4 innings. DH Brian Buxton was hit in the ribs by a pitch in the 4th inning and pitch hit for Jonathan Smith in the 5th. The shortstop Carlos Correa suffered the aggravation of plantar fasciitis in his left foot on an awkward step as he was warming up between innings. He was replaced by Kyle Farmer on defense in the top of the 7th when the right fielder Max Kepler was also pulled with a migraine headache. Oof. Will Castro came in to replace Kepler at left field and moved Joey Gallo to right field. No sooner said than done. All right, let's just see here if I missed anything. Oh, yeah. The Dodgers acquired right-hand pitcher Ricky Vascano from the Rangers for Luis Valdez. Right-hander Zach Birdie also designated for assignment by the Dodgers to make room with their 40-man roster. Vascasco, 15th-round draft pick out of Texas in 2017, was designated for assignment on Monday. All right. He gave up 6 runs in 2.5 innings for Double-A Frisco after coming off the injured list. Vascuso was 3-5 with a 4.6 ERA in 23 starts between Frisco and Hickory, a Class I High A league. Valdez is 0-2 with a 3.12 ERA in 8 games in low A ball for Rancho Cucamonga this season. No, there really is a place called Rancho Cucamonga. He was signed by the Dodgers as a minor free agent out of Mexico in 2019. There are other games on the schedule tomorrow. For one thing, in the WNBA, the Dallas Wings take on the Connecticut Sun at 1 o'clock. Chicago Sky versus my New York Liberty at 2. And the Las Vegas Aces take on the Indiana Fever at 4. Just want to be sure of that. And the college baseball season is now down to their tournament of 64 teams that began yesterday. And the longest game of the day, Tennessee over number 4 Clemson, 6-5 in 14 innings. Oh boy. Oof. Other scores: Oklahoma over Army, 10-1. UConn over Florida A&M, 9-6. Thank you. Campbell over Central Connecticut, 10-5. West Virginia over Ball State, 13-5. Indiana State over Iowa, 7-4. Among ranked teams, Virginia over East Carolina, 2-1. Number 9 Miami. Texas over 9 Miami, 4-1. Coastal Carolina, number 10, beat Wilmington UNC 12-2. And Southern Miss beat number 13 Auburn 7-2. And if you want a lapper, Dallas Baptist beat number 11 Oklahoma State 18-4. Texas Tech got by number 2 Florida 5-4. And this, I think, just went final. Oregon over Vanderbilt 8-7. Okay, we got one more here. Some of these are delayed because of a score of rain delay, but that's how it happens. As in the top of the ninth, Troy is leading Alabama with number 16, 8-7. All right, so that's gonna wrap it for me. I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, episode 58, True Sports is now in the can. It, it's now come to a halt. Episode 59 tomorrow night at 11ish or so on podcast night. Tomorrow night at 9:30, I'll have the Michigan Sports Truth podcast with myself and my co-host Ed Smith. But for now, for Louis Tenor, I'm Taylor Phillips. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, folks.